Hello there, my name is Hydo and welcome to the Pantheon, where today we're having a look at a little know-me sort of woman. It's Minn, the Wily Illusionist, who's riding a big bear illusion thing. Really quite lovely. 3 mana for a 1/3 gnome wizard. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with this creature gets +1/+0 for each other illusion you control. Whenever an illusion you control dies, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to the creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, there's a lot going on in this card. You know, it cares about drawing 2 cards a turn, illusions, tokens, cheating things into play. It's all over the place, but it's incredibly, incredibly cool. I really, really do like this card. Minn seems really, really awesome, you know, especially as mono blue commanders go. It's something unique, and that's what I really like about this card. If you like this show, please do subscribe. I'm going to make lots more content like this, and I'm going to be coming out with some more interesting sort of things hopefully soon. Interesting being the operative word. So without further ado, let's have a look at the top 5. In at number 5, we've got Archmage's Charm, and this section is all about drawing 2 cards a turn, preferably at instant speed during your opponent's turn, so we can trigger, get a card, an illusion then as well. Triple blue for an instant. Choose 1. Cancel target spell. Good to start with. Target player draws 2 cards. Pick me. What the hell was that? Gain control of target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. So that's any Soul Rings, you know, Mystic Remoras, things like that. This just steals them away from our opponents. And we can just draw 2 cards to get an illusion at instant speed. Really nice. But an even better way of doing that is Consecrated Sphinx. 6 mana for a 4/6 with flying. Whenever an opponent draws a card, you may draw 2 cards. So each turn, your opponents are going to be drawing at least 1 card during their upkeep, which means we'll draw 2 cards, we'll trigger Minn, we'll get an illusion, and our illusion army will just keep growing and growing and growing. Obviously, this card is really expensive and a big lightning bolt rod for, you know, just any sort of removal, but it's incredible. Then we've got Etomis, All Seeing, 6 mana for a 4/5 with flying. Pay 3 and tap it, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. So we can do this on our opponent's turn to draw the 2 cards to trigger our commander. But when it deals combat damage to an opponent, you may reveal your hand. If cards with at least 6 different converted mana costs are revealed this way, that player loses the game. There we go. I got through the words. I did the words. Hooray! So this can be a way of winning the game, or at least forcing one of your opponents to lose it. And during our opponent's turn, say if we don't want to attack with it and kill someone, we can just draw 2 cards to create a token. And it's a nice big beefy dude that if our illusions get big enough, we can put this into play for free. Then we've got Arcanus, the Omnipotent. 6 mana for a 3/4 wizard. Tap to draw 3 cards. Absolutely incredible. Ancestral Recall whenever you want it. And you can pay 4 to return it to its owner's hand. Now, the drawing 3 cards, obviously that's going to trigger our commander, get us tons of value. But when an illusion dies, say, I don't know, someone's targeting Arcanus with a removal spell. We return it back to our hand and then sacrifice one of our illusions that's 6 power. Well, we just put Arcanus straight back into play again. That's really, really awesome in my opinion. You know, we can do a lot of interesting things with this deck. Then we've got a couple of other ways to trigger the commander ability. Chemist's Insight is 4 mana for an instant, draw 2 cards. Okay, nice, we can do it on opponent's turn. But then we can jumpstart it, which means when you cast this from your graveyard, you have to discard a card. It's like flashback. Really, really nice. Gets us 2 triggers with our tokens. Then Brainstorm, 1 mana, 1 blue mana for an instant, draw 3 cards and put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. Really nice, gets you deeper into the deck. We're drawing 3 cards, so we're going to trigger our commander. And then finally, our ramp section can really help us here. Dreamstone Hedron, 6 mana for an artifact. Tap to add 3 colours, or you can pay 3 and tap it, sacrifice it, draw 3 cards. You can do this on your opponent's turns. Really nice. Get absolutely tons of value. Which brings me on to number 4. And at number 4, well, if we're drawing cards Why stop at 1? Let's double it, shall we? I'll hammer its archive, 5 mana for a legendary artifact. If you gain life, you gain twice that. If you gain life, you gain twice as much. I even messed it up. Trying to do the funny thing where I did it correctly, but I did it wrong. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life instead. We got it. And if you would draw a card except the first one you draw each turn, you draw steps. Basically, you draw an extra card for each time you would draw a card except for your first one. That's all I needed to say. It's all there on the screen. I just needed to read it. But I can't because I'm incompetent. Anyway, a couple of other ways of doing this. Teferi's Ageless Insight. 4 mana, Legendary Enchantment. If you draw a card except the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. Ooh, pretty goddamn good. Doubling the draws, we're just going to have tons of cards spelling anywhere. And it also turns anything that draws just 1 card on our opponent's turn into drawing 2 cards, which triggers our commanders, makes us an illusion. So say if you were going to, I don't know, cycle a card on your opponent's turn. If you've got one of these, that's right, you're going to draw 2 cards. Nice. Then, Archmage Ascension works really well with the drawing 2 cards theme we've got. 3 mana for an enchantment. At the beginning of each end step, if you drew 2 or more cards this turn, you may put a quest counter on Archmage's Ascension. So it's something really we want to be doing. So what do we get for that? As long as it has 6 or more quest counters on it, and if you would draw a card, you may instead search your library for a card and put that card into your hand. So it just turns absolutely everything, every card draw into a tutor. Absolutely phenomenal. The artwork's great. Looks really nice in foil. I love it. It just works so well. Then we've got Thought Reflection, 7 mana for an enchantment. If you would draw a card, draw 2 cards instead. Absolutely amazing. Does exactly what the deck wants to do. We're just going to generate so much value and so much card advantage. Which brings me on to my number 3 pick. And at number 3, it's Skull Clamp. A card that draws 2 cards and works brilliantly with all of our illusions. Now, it's a 1 mana equipment. A quick creature gets +1, -1. Quick creature dies, draw 2 cards and equip for 1. So every one of our illusions is a 1/1 base, and then it scales its power, not its toughness. So the cool thing with Skull Clamp is when it's equipped, our creature will get slightly bigger in terms of toughness, so we can put a bigger thing into play, but it'll also kill it by giving it that -1. So we're going to draw 2 cards, triggering our commander, and then we can put something big into play. Skull Clamp is just incredible in this deck. It really, really is. Then, to go along with it, here are a couple of other ways that we can sacrifice our illusions to trigger that putting something into play ability. Abjure? Abjure? I've never seen that word in my life. Abjure? Abjure? Abjure. 1 blue for an interrupt, or an instant as we now call it, because we live in the present day, we're not Neanderthals. Sacrifice a blue permanent, counter target spell. Now, the illusions that we make are blue, so we can sacrifice one of them to counter any spell for 1 blue. And then we get the trigger to put something into play. Amazing. It just works so well. It's so cool. Then a classic here, Ashenard's Altar. 3 mana for an artifact, sacrifice a creature. Add double colours to your mana pool. So instant speed, sacrifice something, get a big trigger, and then we've got mana to cast whatever spells you want at instant speed. Then Baron Master Wizard. Sadly, this is on the reserve list, so it's expensive, but, you know, just print it off. Who actually cares? 3 mana for a 1/1. Counts as a wizard, and you can pay 2 and sacrifice a permanent, return target creature to its owner's hand. So, excellent bit of removal. We can just bounce one of our opponent's commanders, and we're sacrificing one of our illusions to go and put something cool into play. Then, here are a couple of cool things that we want to sacrifice. Toothy Imaginary Friend is a 4 mana 1/1. It's an illusion itself, which works fantastically with the deck. And whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Shockingly enough, we will draw a lot of cards. Then when it leaves the battlefield, draw a card for each 1/1 counter on it. So it just can spiral out of control. We're going to be absolutely massive, so we can put a massive thing into play because it's an illusion. And then we're going to draw a shed load of cards. Just so many things going on with this card that's Just wonderful. On a very similar sort of axis, we've got Chasm Skulker. 3 mana, it's a squid horror, so not an illusion, so we don't get a trigger on it, but it's a 1/1. Whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on it. Then when it dies, create X 1/1 blue squid creature tokens with Island Wall, where X number of 1/1 counters on it. Tons of value from the sacrifice. Yes, it's not an illusion, but it just works so well in the deck. And then, sorry, we've got Dream Sticks. Strix. 3 mana for a 3/2 with flying, and it's a bird illusion. When it becomes the target of a spell, I'll sacrifice it, and when it dies, learn, which means you discard a card or draw a card. Or, if you don't care about the rules, you could get one of the lesson cards. Personally, I think you should just go and get the lesson cards. Who actually cares? None of the lessons are all that powerful, so just do it. Why would anyone be bothered if you did? Which brings me on to number 2, and at number 2, we've got... Look at that artwork. I love it. Illusory Wall. And these are... We talked about ways to sacrifice things. These are illusions that sacrifice themselves. An Illusory Wall is exactly what you want to be doing. 5 mana. How do you want to be doing it? 5 mana for a 7/4 with Defender, Flying, and First Strike on a blue creature. What in the name of God is going on with this? But the reason I'm talking about is cumulative upkeep. So, during each upkeep, you need to pay 1 blue, then 2 blue, then 3, going up and up and up to keep it on the field. So not only can it not attack, but you need to keep paying it. But what I'm interested in is the fact you can pay this for 5 mana, or dump it into play, off one of your illusion tokens. But then, during your upkeep, you can not pay the cumulative upkeep cost, and then you sacrifice it, and then it's a 7 power creature going to the graveyard. So you can then put in something even bigger. So it's just a cool card that you can chain together. And I think this deck has so much card draw and so much other things, sort of cool things going on. You can put a couple of these garbage cards in that just really help enable the deck. And that artwork, man, just look at it. It's just so cool. That little castle at the bottom, the geometric sort of wall. I just think it looks so cool. To go along with it, we've got Phantasmal Forces, 4 mana for a 4/1 illusion. Oh my god, the 4/1s are here. It's got flying at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay a single blue. So it's like cumulative upkeep, but it doesn't get bigger and bigger. It's a 4/1. I mean, the cool thing is you can even use your Skull Clamp on this thing, make it into a 5/0. Now that's just pure value. And the fact it's an illusion, again, excellent artwork. Look at it. It's just great. And then we've got Aura Thief, 4 mana for a 2/2, so not that impressive in terms of dumping 3 things in. But it's got flying, and when it's put into a graveyard from play, you gain control of all enchantments. All of them. All of your opponents, they just come over to me. You just gobble them up like a greedy pig. Absolutely, like Dave, when you see him just shoveling McDonald's into his face, it's disgusting. But Aura Thief, great card. It's an illusion, fits with the deck. Then we've got Illusionary Forces. Is that the same card? Oh, no, it's not. I thought Phantasmal... Oh, right. So this is Illusionary Forces. So we've got a lot of forces going on. 4 mana for an illusion with flying. It's a 4/4. It's got cumulative upkeep of a single blue. So exactly the same thing happens. Look at this artwork. It's just so cool. It just looks so nice. I love it. It's... It looks like the cover of a heavy metal band headed by Klingons, which is always, something I've been interested in. Klingon metal. Talking of cool illusions, Illusory Ambusher. 5 mana for a 4/1 with Flash, Cat Illusion. When it is dealt damage, draw that many cards. So we want to flash this in. Our opponents are attacking us with a massive thing. Block, draw tons of cards, and then we get a free trigger to put something into play. Just nice value. Then we've got Chromozoa. 4 mana for a 3/3 with flying. It's an illusion, obviously. Then Vanishing for 3. So this permanent comes into play with 3 time counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, remove a time counter from it. When the last is removed, sacrifice it. So, if a cool way to sort of sacrifice it. Then, if it's put into the graveyard from play, if it had no time counters on it, put 2 tokens into play that are copies of it. So that's so cool. It just keeps going and going and going. If you have enough turns, if you want to play mono blue, you can play a lot of sort of extra turn spells and things like that. Then we've got Errant Ephemeron. 7 mana for a 4/4 with flying and suspend for 4. Well, suspend 4 for 2 mana. So for 2 mana, you set it aside with 4 town cards on it. Keep ticking down each turn, and then eventually you get to cast it for free with haste. So it's just another way to cheaply get out something with quite a bit of power on it. Then let's have a look at number 1. And at number 1, we've got Fathoms here, and this card came out of nowhere for me. When I was looking through Illusions, I was just like, it's not that good. But it works in every access that this deck wants to work on. 2 mana for Fathoms here, it's an illusion. So we've hit the first thing already. You can play it for morph, so 3 mana face down, and then you can morph it by returning 2 islands you control to its owner's hand. So 2 lands go back to your hand. Then, when it's turned face up, draw 2 cards. So when you unmorph it, you draw the 2 cards, trigger our commander, get another illusion. But the cool thing about the commander, which I've not mentioned before this because I was saving it for right now, is when that triggered ability happens where the illusion dies, you can put in any permanent. You can put lands in. So we've returned 2 islands, and then say this illusion dies, we can put a land in. And that opened up sort of the idea of returning lands for value, and then we can put them back in to sort of trigger a few other things. And this is the perfect card for it. Obviously, this card is based on Gush, which is a 5 mana instant. You may return 2 islands you control to its owner's hand rather than pay Gush's mana cost to draw 2 cards. So you can just generate tons of value. You're drawing those 2 cards. So that's triggering our commander. Then we can sacrifice an illusion to put the islands that we've used back into play, and they come in untapped so we can generate mana from them. This card is phenomenal. And Ouroboros, Oubliette? No, it's not Oubliette. Palace in the Clouds. Legendary land that taps for a blue. Pay 1 to return it to its owner's hand. And that will fit into the theme that I'm about to talk about in a second. But in terms of spells that return lands, Thwart is a great include. 4 mana, you may return 3 islands you control to their owner's hand instead of paying its mana cost. Counter target spell. So a free counter spell for returning lands. And then we've got a bunch of illusions. When they die, put all those lands back into play. It just works so well. And if we're going to be putting lands back into play, let's trigger some landfall abilities. 6 mana for a 3/2 Royal Elemental. Flying on landfall, when a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may gain control of target creature for as long as you control a Royal Elemental. Absolutely phenomenal, can really take over a game. And because we're not limited to just 1 land a turn, we can keep sacrificing our illusions, keep putting lands into play. Absolutely fantastic. Then Eternity Vessel, here's another landfall card we could use. 6 mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, put X charge cards on, where X is your life total. And then landfall, your life total becomes that. So if people are attacking you down, this can help yo-yo you back up there. Really, really awesome card. And then finally, Retreat to Coral Helm. 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. You may tap or untap target creature. Or say we've got Arcanus on the field who taps to draw us 3 cards. Well, we put a land into play. We draw 3 more cards. Tons of value to be had. Or you can scribe 1. Not quite as much value, but still okay. And those are my top 5 cards for this brand new commander. I think she's awesome. I love her. She's really, really cool. Gnomes are a man's best friend. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please do subscribe, like, comment, eat a pizza and spell out my name using the crusts. Whatever you want to do, really. I'll see you soon. Bye.